How's it going, guys? DemonDriver here, and I want to show you guys a cool tool that I use, and it's called the hot knife. This is basically the poor man's hot wire. If you don't have the money for a hot wire bow, or you don't have the room for one, this is an affordable tool to melt foam with heat, electric heat. This blade gets real hot and it can melt foam. So I'm going to show you guys how to use this tool properly and safely, and let's get rocking. Right here are two fuselages of two Kikkas, two Japanese Kikkas of World War II Japanese jet fighter. It was the first indigenous Japanese fighter ever developed. And I'm going to show you, I've already cut these in half. And I'm going to show you how to use this, this hot wire tool. See, this one has already been hollowed out, this half. So now we're going to do the other half of the other one. So let's get rocking. I'll show you how to use this hot knife. We're going to hollow out this interior. Alright? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the hot knife. I'm going to use this hot knife to hollow out the interior of this Kikka. Now, the advantage of this hot knife as opposed to a razor, okay? This, as opposed to a regular razor, this is going to make a lot less of a mess. You're not going to make as much a mess with this as you will with this. With a razor, and you cut it out with a razor or a sanding device, it's going to make a big mess. And you're going to have to clean it up, and it's a pain in the ass. So let me show you very quickly what the workings of the actual hot knife. Show you how to work it. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Okay, the hot knife. Alright, you plug it in, and basically what you have is a safety trigger right here, and you have a dial, okay? You got a dial here that can vary your heat level. You got 1 all the way up to 5. I always run it at 5. The light comes on, the little LED light comes on, and you hold the trigger down. Now I leave this taped over in order so I don't have to keep my finger constantly on it, in order to keep it on, but it's a safety mechanism. You keep your trigger, you keep your hand on there, and it keeps it on. Keeps the hot wire, keeps the hot knife on. You take your finger off, it shuts it off. So I tape that shut, so I don't have to do that. That's up to you. That's a choice that you make. So let's get rocking, and let me show you another safety feature that you have to do when you use these. Okay, guys. Anytime you're melting plastic, you want to be outdoors. You want to be in fresh air. You don't want to be indoors. Never melt plastic, burn plastic indoors. And when you are outdoors, anywhere near melting plastic, hot wire or anything, wear a respirator. Wear a high quality respirator, and you know, a dust mask isn't going to do. You have to wear a respirator at all times when you're melting plastic. Okay? There's a lot of dangerous stuff in that plastic when you melt it, so you got to put a respirator on, and you know, you got to be careful. So got to make sure there's no leaks, and now let's get rocking. Alright, let me show you what I'm going to do here. Now that it's the hot knife is hot enough, I go ahead and I stand the Kikka fuselage half on a little stool. I take it. Now also be careful that you don't burn the cord with the blade, because that's instant electrocution. Okay? Or possible instant electrocution. So basically what I'm doing is I take the blade, always careful with my hands, and I basically just lay it very gently. See, I also took a marker and I drew an outline of what I want to cut out. So I very just gently lay it into the foam, like so. Always being mindful, I don't want to go too far through the other side. I don't want to go through. That's a no-no. You basically want to make sure that you just go far enough in
And you just kind of let the knife do its work. It melts the foam. You know, just being mindful of the fuselage. You see what I'm doing here? I'm just letting the knife do all the work. And I'm being ever mindful not to go too far into the fuselage half so I don't burn through the other side. You understand? And I'm going down in straight lines. What I call grooves. And I have it on an angle. Now, any angle is better than coming straight down. When you go straight down, you don't cut as quickly. And you can really feel the heat off this thing. This thing is hot. You got to really be careful with this thing. You can really screw yourself up pretty good if you don't pay attention. See? I'm making these lines. I'm cutting these grooves in. And I'll show you why I'm doing that in a second. Now I make one more groove line. And I'm just really paying attention to how far the knife is going in. You want to watch where the knife is in relation to your hand and how far the blade is going into the fuselage. You don't want to cut too far in, you make a hole. And once you make a hole, it's all over. Because then you got to go and spackle it or something, or put some expanding foam into the hole to cover up the hole you made. Now watch, this is important, what I'm about to do. Now, I cut across these tabs, these grooves that I've made. I cut across, making a grid pattern. You see what I'm doing? Now, many of you might be inclined to, while you're using the hot knife, to just do this. Take the hot knife and just melt the plastic. Okay, you take the hot knife and just, you melt the plastic. And here's the problem with that. What you're going to have is molten plastic, and it's going to start dripping through your plane, and it's going to, remember the movie, Alien, 1979 Alien? And the alien's acid, when they cut the leg of the creature, and the acid drips down through the deck, and it keeps dripping and dripping. That's what this stuff, plastic, does. It's molten hot. So being lazy and going, I'm just going to go like this and da-da-da-do-do-do. Okay, the only problem with that is you're going to have molten plastic, so don't do that. All right, you just cut your tabs. Cut your little tabs. And obviously with the respirator on, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, once you're done using the hot knife, unplug it. Get it unplugged, turn it off, and wait a while. It's going to keep smoking for about maybe 2 to 3 minutes after you stop using it. It's going to keep smoking. So don't take your respirator off, or go, get away from this thing for a while. Or put this thing somewhere else where, put it on some brick or some concrete or something that's not flammable.
Okay, now that we are done with the hot knife, I've shut the hot knife off, I've taken the respirator off, and you can actually hear me now. Okay, let me show you the advantage and why we did all that. With my simple basic hands, I can just simply break the tabs off with my hands. Watch. See? I don't need a razor, and I have a nice little chunk. And I pop that out. See, I got a little chunk. And I just keep popping these suckers out. See? Put them in my hand. No mess. Not on the floor. See? Look at that. Have a trash bag or a garbage can somewhere, you just take the little pieces, you pop them out, you put them in the bag. It saves using a knife, and then you have a big mess everywhere that you have to clean up. And if you've ever cut the foam with the knife, it gets static electricity on it, and it clings to everything. It's a nightmare to clean up. It's a nightmare to clean up. It's just, you get the stuff everywhere. It's just a pain in the ass. And what we come up with is this. Now, once I did all that, I cleaned it up. I did take a knife and I just did a little bit of cleanup work. But by doing it that way and using the hot knife, it just saves a lot of time. You create 75% less mess than if you didn't do it this way. And it's like, this is what I call canoeing. You're basically hollowing out the interior of the Kikka so that when both the halves come together of the Kikka and this plane is fused back together again, it's going to be 50%, 60%, 70% lighter than if it was all solid foam. So that's the advantage of doing it this way. So, it's just an easy way to get foam out of your project without making a big mess. Alright, well, that's the hot knife. And the hot knife is a wonderful, inexpensive, alternative to a bow and a hot wire bow and a hot wire setup. Hot wire setup is going to run you anywhere from $80 to $150. If you make it yourself, you can do it for under $50. That's fine. But this, you can go to Harbor Freight. I picked this up, I think, for about $20. That's pretty good. Now, if you want to go on a Granger or Uline, they have more expensive ones that run anywhere from $50 to $70. And I think some of them have even larger blades. Now, the great thing about these things is you can use this in lieu of, as a substitute for a hot wire knife. You can do almost all the work with this that you can do with a hot wire. Hot wire is more like a surgical tool, like a surgeon's tool, where this is more just a blunt sword. This is just cutting and whatever. And the only downside, of course, is you have to use this. So this and this are one. You can't use this without this. You hear me? You have to wear a respirator when you use this. You have to. Only way around it is if you have a fan, literally right next to you, a big industrial fan blowing all of the toxic smoke away from you and you never breathe it. You're constantly breathing fresh air. That's the only way around that. So when you use this, okay? Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I'm really careful with this kind of stuff, and I always wear dust masks and these kind of things. It's better to be safe and be able to breathe than to kill yourself by not being smart. So this is DemonDriver, and this is the hot knife. All right? Go get one. Great tool.